गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यामुनातीरावनचारि यामुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यामुनातीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपादा 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 जय प्रभुपादा प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासुदेव गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय गंगा माई यमुना माई नर्मदा माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री रामनवमी महामहोत्सव की जय श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna, all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Vishnu and Vishnu Prabhupada. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं जाग्रजातं सखा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगलिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति विकास स्वामिनिति नामे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कम करति वाचल मंगलम गाति कृपात मोहम्मद श्री गुरुदेव श्री चैतन्येश्वर रामाय रामभद्राय रामचंद्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पते नमः श्री राम रामाय रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं राम राम Hare Krishna, welcome to yet another session of the online reading of Ramayana, the story of Lord Rama, presented by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj and published by Bhakti Vikas Trust, dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So one small request to all devotees that those who have registered or those who are coming, please come every day so that we will understand over a period of time what kind of nectar we are missing. So it's important that we have a continuity of attending these sessions. Uh, so with this small note, we will continue to read. Before that, I want to just give the link for the book. If anyhow, so this link is meant for ordering the book. So if anybody doesn't have the book, please you can order. And I want to confirm from devotees whether they are able to hear me, so that I can continue from now itself. Hare Krishna. So you can send me a message in the chat box that you are able to hear, so that I can continue. Okay. So continuing to read from Ramayana, the story of Lord Rama, page number 90. Pausing in his speech, Maharaj Dashrath began wondering how Rama, who had always enjoyed the comforts of the royal opulence, would be able to live a harsh life in the forest. As his pain and anger increased with these as his pain and anger increased with these efforts, the king suddenly mocked, "O righteous queen, I wish you all success in the ruling kingdom after having rid yourself of all your relatives. Do not expect me to play a part in your sinister plans. I shall never grant your demands, never." Regardless, the king's bluster soon faded. As Regardless, the king's bluster soon faded, as helplessness welled up within him. He again implored his queen to retract her statement, saying, "Please take back all you have said." Saying this, he again fainted. After Dashrath regained consciousness, he again rebuked Kaikeyi. "Oh, how condemned women are! They are cruel, perverse, and selfish by nature. If not all women, then surely you, O mother of Bharata. Your demands are evil and malicious. I will never grant them. You can scream as you like, take poison or threaten me, but I shall never banish Rama to the forest." Dasharath's eyes were red from weeping and his voice pitiful to hear. Yet Kaikeyi callously, callously turned her head away. Again and again he begged her, but to no avail. The king prayed that the night would never pass so that he would not have to face the ordeal of banishing Rama to the forest the following day. However, King Dasharath finally realized that Kaikeyi was unwavering in her determination and again fainted from hopelessness. While King Dasharath was arguing with Kaikeyi, Vashishta Muni completed the preparations for the coronation ceremony. The moon, the lord of the stars, had entered the lunar mansion of Pushya, and the sacred hour of installation had arrived. As Vasishtha Muni made his way through the streets to the king's palace, he saw that flags, festoons, and garlands decorated all the houses. Likewise, the streets, which had been sprinkled with scented water, were filled with throngs of people anxiously awaiting Lord Rama's appearance. Passing through the joyous crowds, Vashishta Muni, followed by other sages, entered the palace grounds that were beautifully decorated with gardens and reservoirs of water, replete with lotus flowers, swans, and shade giving flower trees. Before continuing, I just want to say that I may pick up any of the Prabhujis to request them to continue to read from there. So please bear this mind. Anybody I may pick up. As Vashishta Muni was about to enter the palace, he saw Sumantra, King Dasharatha's chief minister, who had also just returned. Please tell His Majesty that I have returned. Vashishta told him, I have bought golden water pots filled with water from the sacred rivers, and a special seat of sacred wood has been made for Rama's use during the sacrifice. I have also bought various seeds, aromatic perfumes, and precious jewels for the coronation. I have collected honey, curd, roots, ghee, milk, spices, flowers, parched paddy grains, and blades of sacred grass, all to be used in the sacrifice. I've also bought 8 virgin girls and many excellent elephants, a splendid chariot drawn by 4 horses, a special sword, a bow, a palanquin with bearers, an umbrella resembling the moon, a pair of chamara fans, a sacred bull, and a throne decorated with carved lions. Everything necessary for the sacrifice has been collected. Therefore, please ask the king to bring Rama so that the ceremony may begin as soon as the moon has fully entered the constellation Pushya. Entering the king's chambers, Sumantra soon reached the room where Dasharath and Kaikeyi were sitting. Not knowing what had taken place between the king and his wife, Sumantra was joyful. He was therefore quite surprised when the king, whose happiness has had forever terminated, cried out, Oh Sumantra, you are cutting my heart to pieces, and fell unconscious to the floor. The king has not slept all night because of his joy over Rama's installation. Kaikai told him. Then the king regained consciousness and ordered Sumantra to summon Rama. At Rama's palace, Sumantra was quickly ushered into the palace presence of Sita and Rama. The Lord was garlanded with white lotus flowers with golden necklaces covering his transcendental body, being attended by servants who were fanning him with chamaras and offering him various gifts with great devotion. Rama appeared just like the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who in fact he was. Hearing the king's summons, Rama remarked to Sita, my father must be calling me for some auspicious purpose concerning the installation ceremony. As Rama departed, Lakshmana was standing at the gate waiting for Rama with folded hands. Rama took his brother with him and then mounted his chariot, traveling through the streets of Ayodhya. Along the way, the citizens cheered, praising Rama to the accomplishment of musicians. Wherever he went, the people could not take their eyes away from him. Indeed, the natural characteristic of Lord Rama is that whoever looks upon him cannot bear to look away. Reaching the inner gates of his father's palace, Rama descended from his chariot and dismissed the citizens that had accompanied him. As he entered his father's room, Rama saw Maharaj Dasharath seated on a couch with Kaikeyi. The king's face was withered mask of dejection and anxiety. As Rama approached, the king could only mutter, Rama, Rama, as his eyes filled with tears, unable to look directly at his son. Hare Krishna. Seeing his father distressed state, Rama's heart became filled with grief and apprehension. He wondered what has happened to make my father so dispirited. Why is he not happy to see me? Rama then inquired from Kaikeyi, what is the cause of my father's distress? Have I done something to offend him? The king, Kaikeyi began, is neither angry nor offended. He does, however, have something to tell you. He fears that by doing so he will hurt you. Therefore, let me explain. Formerly, your father offered me 2 boons after I had saved him in a precarious situation on the battlefield. However, due to unmanly weakness, he now hesitates to fulfill his promise. Therefore, Rama, you should protect your father's virtue by convincing him not to fall prey to dishonesty. O Rama, if you promise me, then you are fully prepared to carry out the king's order. Then I shall disclose to you the nature of 2 boons nature of the two boons I desire. Feeling deeply hurt, Rama replied, "My dear mother, I am surprised that there is any doubt in your mind that I would unflinchingly carry out my father's wishes, even if it meant entering into fire. Please tell me what father wants. Do not doubt that I will act accordingly. That is my solemn promise." Gaining Rama's assurance, the cruel Kaikeyi said, "Formerly, when your father was severely wounded in fighting the demon Shambara, at the behest of the demigods, I carefully nursed him back to life. Feeling a deep sense of gratitude, the king begged me to accept two boons. I said that I would accept them later in a time of need. Now I wish to utilize these boons. First, I have requested your father to install Bharata as the heir apparent to the throne. Secondly, I have asked the king to banish you to the forest for 14 years, where you will live as an ascetic with matted hair and dress with tree bark and deer skin. It is your duty to ensure that your father does not go back on his word and thus tread the path of unrighteousness." Hearing her words, Rama did not become even slightly distressed or agitated. Without any indication of displeasure, he cheerfully replied, "My dear mother, I shall immediately retire to the forest as you desire. Let messengers be sent at once to summon Bharata. I have no regrets. My only wish is that you and my father always look upon me favorably. My dear mother, please do not harbor any ill feeling toward me." At this, Kaikeyi explained with delight, "It is settled. Send messages to my brother's house so that my son may come here at once. As for you, Rama, I urge you to depart for the forest without delay. Do not worry about your father. For the moment, he is bewildered, but after your departure, he will come around." Rama then said, "My dear mother, it grieves me that my father had not ordered me himself, but I am ready to depart for the forest with your command alone." Hearing this conversation, Maharaj Dasharad could only mutter, "How painful, how terrible." Hare Krishna. I would like to request mm, Chiranjeevi ji to continue for some time, maybe for 10 minutes. Hare Krishna. Chiranjeevi, Bhakta Chiranjeevi, are you online? Are you able to hear me? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I think no.
Prabhuji,
Hare
am I
Krishna.
audible, Prabhuji? Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, you are audible. So you
Prabhuji,
can,
actually, I'm Kindle version. I'm just looking at the page number.
but you are not following the reading or what?
I'm following, but I'm unable to get the page number.
The page number. Okay.
161 yesterday. I just lost it.
When Kaikeyi finished speaking from there,
Okay.
you should have a book than Kindle. It is good to have a
Yeah,
book.
Prabhu. Actually, all my books are in Bangalore. I left them in my room. I came
Yeah.
home suddenly.
Okay.
Okay, Prabhu, I have this. When Kaikeyi is finished speaking, the,
From there.
the
Okay.
king again fainted onto the floor. Then, as Rama gently lifted up his father, he told Kaikeyi, "I do not want to live in this world as a slave to greed and passion. Like the rishis, I am devoted to the world. I am devoted to righteousness. I would never give up the path of virtue for the sake of ruling a mere kingdom. Dear mother, there is no need in bothering my father. If you would simply have asked me directly, I would have unhesitatingly given you the kingdom and retired to the forest." Rama bowed to the king Dashratha, and Kaikeyi departed to tell his mother the news. Lakshmana, who had heard everything at the door, followed his elder brother. It was only with great effort that he managed to control his rage. As the two brothers left the palace, a pitiful wailing was heard from all who had found out about Rama's impending exile. When Maharaj Dashrada heard those cries of lamentation, he hid himself under his bed sheets in shame. When Rama entered Kaushalya's apartment, he was joyfully greeted and into his mother's room. When he came in, she immediately embraced him, saying, "I am so happy, Rama. Today you will be installed as successor to the throne." With great gentleness and humility, Rama replied, "My dear mother, please do not allow yourself to be overcome by grief at, at what I must tell you. Because of two benedictions that my father formerly promised Kaikeyi, Bharata will be installed as the heir apparent to the throne. And this very day I shall leave Ayodhya and dwell in the forest for 14 years. Dwell in the forest for 14 years. Hearing this, Kaushalya immediately fainted to the floor. Then, after Rama tenderly lifted Kaushalya to her feet, she bitterly lamented, "What greater misery could befall me than this? I would be better for me to have remained childless. Why has death not come to me instantly upon hearing of this calamity? My younger co wives will surely despise me now. By hearing their taunts, my life will be made double miserable." Until then, Lakshmana had controlled his rage. However, no longer able to remain silent, he suddenly burst out, "O Rama, our father has become—" I don't know how to pronounce this. Snile. I don't know how to pronounce this. Snile and perverse. Being overpowered by lust, he has become a plaything in the hands of the wicked Kaikeyi. Why should we passively stand by and accept this? A father, a king, or a spiritual master who cannot distinguish between what should and what should not be done must be rejected. Rama, you should take over the government immediately before everyone hears of the king's decision to install Bharata. Besides, even if all the ministers and citizens have found out, if they are against your installation, I am prepared to annihilate the whole of Ayodhya if necessary. My dear mother, you should know that I, at least, am loyal to Rama. Indeed, I am ready to kill the foolish Dashrada if it is necessary to install Rama upon the throne. Kaushalya, however, did not care for the kingdom. She only feared separation from her beloved son. She said, "O Rama, please do not go to please do not go into exile. It will be more virtuous for you to stay here and please your poor mother than to go to the forest at the command of your father. Rama, if you leave Ayodhya, then I shall fast to death, for life will become unbearable for me." Rama replied, "Mother, it is not possible for me to disobey my father. Therefore, you must give me your permission so I may depart for the forest at once. The order of one's father can never be avoided. Just consider how Parashurama beheaded his own mother, Renuka, on the order of his father, Jamagdagni. Likewise, the sage Kandu killed a cow at his father's command. Therefore, I too must obey my father." Turning to Lakshmana, Rama said, "My dear brother, do not allow yourself to come under the sway of all devouring wrath. Give up the idea of seizing the throne by force and accept the order of your father." Rama again addressed Kaushalya, "My dear mother, please do not torture yourself or talk of ending your life. After the term of my exile is over, I shall return to you. Therefore, please give me your blessings so I may depart without unnecessary remorse." Kaushalya, however, could only cry in desperation. Then Rama became stern and said to Lakshmana, "You are both causing me more grief by opposing my desire to honor my father's command. I will not be swayed from my duty." Then, to pacify Lakshmana, Rama said, "My dear brother, as soon as Bharatha is installed, all of this will be forgotten. Then you will be able to easily give up your grief. Do not blame Kaikeyi, for she is only an instrument in the hands of Providence, the real shaper of our destinies." Lakshmana refused to be pacified. He angrily retorted, O Rama, it appears you have become impotent. For you have given up your Kshatriya reliance on personal prowess and
Pro-
or just
prowess.
prowess. I'm sorry, personal prowess and or just surrendering to destiny. I am not such a
Eunuch.
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 However, eunuch.
Eunuch.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Eunuch. Eunuch.
Eunuch. Eunuch. Eunuch. However,
Eunuch. Eunuch.
eunuch. Okay,
Okay.
eunuch. However, and shall subdue fate by my own power. I will install you on the royal throne this very day. Hearing this, Kaushalya could understand that nothing could deter Rama. She then pleaded, O my son, if you are determined to execute your father's command, then please allow me to accompany you to the forest. Rama replied, Dear mother, after being deceived by Kaikeyi and then deserted by you, my father would certainly give up his life. The foremost duty of a chaste and virtuous wife is to never leave her husband under any circumstance. He is her lord for as long as she lives. Regardless of how noble or religious a woman may be, she commits sin if she fails to serve her husband. A wife's duty is to please and obey her husband and no one else. This is the verdict of all the scriptures. Please then remain with my father and wait for me, for I shall return after 14 years without fail. The next chapter. Kaushalya gave up all hopes of accompanying Rama and finally agreed to give him her blessings. After giving Rama permission to depart for the forest, Kaushalya induced the Brahmanas to perform sacrifices for her son's well-being. Kaushalya declared, May you soon return so that my happiness will be restored. May righteousness be your protector. May the demigods protect you, and may the celestial weapons defend you. May heaven and earth, the air, the wind, the land, and water, and all animate and inanimate beings protect you. May daytime and night, the sun and the moon protect you. May you be happy, O Rama, for my blessings shall go with you. Sita had heard nothing of Rama's exile. She had been waiting for him in happy expectation for many hours. When Rama finally entered her room, Sita could immediately see that he was pale, presp- pres-
Perspiring.
perspiring, and greatly troubled. Rama was also not accompanied by his usual royal
Entourage.
entourage. Sita inquired, My lord, what is the matter? Without hesitation, Rama replied, My father has ordered me to leave the kingdom and to reside in the forest. Bharata is to be installed as the heir apparent to the royal throne. Utilizing two boons given her long ago by my father, Kaikeyi has asked that her son be installed while I am to be banished to the forest. My dear Sita, I have no other choice than to abide by my father's order. However, I want you to stay here. Go daily and offer your respects at the feet of my father and follow Bharata's commands implicitly. My dearest, I have come here just to see you before departing for the forest. Hearing Rama's words, Sita grew increasingly agitated. With anger born of love, she replied, O Rama, my husband, most excellent of men, what advice are you giving me? It is the duty of the wife to share the husband's destiny. I must accompany you to the forest. A father, mother, brother, son, and daughter in law all have their separate existence. A wife, however, has no choice but to follow her husband. I cannot take refuge in anyone else, not even myself. My husband is my only refuge. Therefore, I am determined to follow you. I shall walk behind you, eat only after you have eaten. I will never do anything to displease you, and I shall remain happy to gaze at the hills, lakes, and rivers. I will never become tired, for I will feel secure in your care. I would not want to live even in heaven if you were not there. O Rama, It is you alone that I love. Without you, I would surely die.
Hare Krishna.
Because of her.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, other devotees can read. Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Aditya. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, am I audible, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. You're ready?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So please read slowly and clearly.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yesterday you were
Because
little bit fast, so you
yes,
can read
okay.
slowly.
Yes, sure, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes.
Because of her frailty, Rama was not inclined to take Sita with him. Thus, in an attempt to discourage her, Rama said, "O delicate lady, one has to endure great discomfort while living in the forest. There are no soft beds to lie upon, and one has to bear the onslaught of excessive heat, cold, and torrential rain. In the forest, one can only hope to eat fruits and roots. There is always danger from ferocious animals that stalk in search of prey. Considering these conditions, I could never allow you to accompany me to the forest." Rama's words of refusal made Sita tremble with fear at the prospect of separation from her lord. As pearl like tears rolled down her cheeks like drops of water falling from a lotus leaf, Sita replied, "As long as I remain with you, any inconvenience or danger will be of no consequence. O Rama, without her husband, a wife cannot live. If you do not allow me to go with you, I shall give up my life by taking poison, entering fire, or drowning myself. Before my marriage, an astrologer predicted that I would have to spend part of my life in the forest. Therefore, my dear husband, I know that it is my destiny to accompany you. To be with you is heaven, and to live without you is hell. Therefore, you must take me with you." Rama remained reluctant to allow Sita to accompany him into exile. Sita felt as though she were falling into a great abyss of calamity. Thus, she became almost mad, fearing separation from her husband. Unable to tolerate Rama's stubbornness any longer, Sita began to chastise him. "My father made a big mistake in choosing you for a son in law. How can you think of deserting your wife who married you before puberty? Are you going to leave her unprotected and exposed to the stares of others? The citizens of Ayodhya are fools for declaring Rama is as splendid as the sun. His glories are without equal. I refuse to remain here alone while you go off to the forest. Either you take me with you, or I will take poison and die." Crying bitterly, her heart tormented with grief, Sita was on the verge of fainting. Seeing her pitiful condition was more than Rama could bear. His heart softened and he took his chaste wife Sita in his arms. Rama then assured her that she could indeed accompany him. Prabhu, shall I read Srila Prabhupada comments also?
Yes, you can read.
In Vedic civilization, there are hundreds of similar examples of such renunciation on the part of queens and dedication to the husband. The goddess of fortune, Mother Sita, followed her husband Ramchandra when he went to the forest. Lord Ramchandra went to the forest in compliance with the order of his father, Maharaja Dasharatha, but Mother Sita was not so ordered. Nonetheless, she voluntarily accepted the path of her husband. Such queens also instructed the general people by showing them how to become a chaste wife and follow the husband in every stage of life. When the husband is king, she sits beside him as the queen, and when he goes to the forest, she also follows. Despite
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Something
No
happened.
problem.
Yeah.
I'll continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the husband is king, she sits beside him as the queen, and when he goes to the forest, she also follows, despite having to tolerate all kinds of difficulties in living in the forest. Continuation. Dear Sita, Rama began, I only tried to dissuade you because I did not understand the true situation of your mind. O Sita, I could no more abandon you than a wise man could give up his sense of compassion. How could I ever rest peacefully knowing that you were unhappy? Go then and give away in charity all your valuables, clothes, jewels, and whatever you possess to the Brahmanas. As Sita joyfully departed, Lakshmana, who was standing nearby, came forward and caught hold of Rama's lotus feet. With tear filled eyes, Lakshmana pleaded, O Rama, please allow me also to accompany you into the forest. Hoping to discourage Lakshmana, Rama replied, My dear brother, you must remain here at Ayodhya to serve our two mothers, Kausalya and Sumitra. Without your protection, they will surely be mistreated by Kaikeyi. To this, Lakshmana replied, Surely our brother Bharata will take care of everything. There is no need to be anxious for our mothers. O Rama, as you traverse the forest, I shall walk in front with my bow in hand, allowing you and the daughter of the king Videha, Sita, to enjoy the scenic delights. I will also gather fruits and roots as you sleep and stand nearby to guard you. At last, Rama agreed. He then instructed Lakshmana, You may certainly come, but first take leave of your mother. Afterward, bring the two mighty bows given by Varuna to Maharaja Janaka, the impenetrable armor, two inexhaustible quivers, and a pair of powerful swords. After paying your respects to Vasishtha, return here with the weapons, and we shall depart. Having fulfilled Rama's orders, Lakshmana returned. Rama then asked him to summon the foremost of Brahmanas so he could distribute all his possessions in charity. Soon thereafter, Suyagnya, the son of Vasishtha, and the sons of Agastya and Vishwamitra arrived at the royal palace. After duly welcoming them, Rama instructed his dependents to look after their palaces in their absence. Rama then ordered his treasurer to bring forth all his wealth. Thereafter, a huge
Hill of gold. Oh,
sorry, Prabhuji.
okay. That's what happened. Hill of gold.
Hill of gold and jewels was stacked high, along with other valuables such as clothing, chariots, and animals. In this way, Rama began to distribute his possessions. It happened that a Brahmana named Trijata resided in the forest near Ayodhya. Because
Trijata.
of his
It's not Trijata, it's Trijata. Yeah. What happened? अरे यार, what's happening? There is some problem here, I think. I'll continue for some time. It happened that a Brahmana named Trijata resided in the forest near Ayodhya. Because of his extreme poverty, the Brahmana was weak, very weak and frail. His wife pleaded with him to go to Ayodhya to ask some charity from Rama. Thereafter, the Brahmana set out and happened to arrive just when Rama was distributing his wealth. When the Brahmana approached him and described his impoverished condition, Rama jokingly replied, "Take your staff and throw it as far as you can. As many cows as that stick passes over, I shall give you." Trijata tightened his belt and then excitedly threw his staff into the air. To everyone's surprise, his staff soared all the way across the Sarayu and landed amongst a herd of thousands of cows that were grazing from the river's edge up to the point where his stick had landed. Rama then embraced the Brahmana, saying, "Please do not be offended by my jest. I merely wish to see your exhibition of Brahminical prowess." After that, Rama gave away everything in his possession. He had made that no Brahmana, he made sure that no Brahmana, relative, dependent, or beggar failed to receive charity on that day. Rama and Sita, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana then proceeded on foot through the streets of Ayodhya toward the palace of Maharaj Dashrath. That citizens observing Rama traveling about in this fashion, some from their 7-story mansions and others in the crowds on the street, all became greatly pained. They cried, "Oh, how unfortunate that even common men are now able to see Sita, who formerly never appeared in public. We shall take our families to accompany Rama so that Ayodhya will become like an uninhabited forest and the forest will become like a populous city." As Rama entered Kaikeyi's quarters, he saw Sumantra and asked the charioteer to announce his presence to the king. Upon hearing of Rama's arrival, Maharaj Dashrath ordered Sumantra to assemble his consorts so he could meet with his son in their presence. Shortly thereafter, 350 young maidservants came and surrounded Kaushalya. Then, when Rama, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana, entered his father's room, King Dasharatha ran to embrace him. Overwhelming by grief, the king fell unconscious before reaching his beloved son. At that, Rama rushed forward, picking up his father into his arms, while all around the people cried in anguish. After being brought to his couch, Dasharath regained consciousness. Rama then said, "My dear father, I have come to bid you farewell. Please give me permission to depart for the forest with Sita and Lakshmana." Maharaj Dasharath argued, "Rama, please accept my advice. Take me captive at once and then occupy the real throne by force. No one can stop you." Rama replied, "My dear father, Rama replied, Dear father, I have no desire to achieve sovereignty over the earth or royal opulence." Maharaj Dasharath then said, "You may leave with my blessings, but please stay here for just one day so I may have the opportunity to see you." However, Rama replied, "I must leave immediately. It is my duty to fulfill your promise and do as Kaikeyi has ordered me. I must leave for the forest at once." Maharaj Dasharath then embraced Rama and afterward he again fell unconscious. Sumantra, who was weeping profusely, also fell to the ground floor. Everyone except Kaikeyi cried aloud with grief. Sumantra had been the most intimate associate of royal family. Thus he more than all others suffered because of the calamity before them. Suddenly Sumantra approached Kaikeyi and began chastising her harshly, saying, "O wicked woman, by sending away Rama, you will become the murderer of your own husband. Your selfish demands violate the religious principle that a kingdom be handed over the eldest son. Indeed, you shall reap the bitter fruits of your evil deeds. For when Rama goes away, all the Brahmanas will follow him. Thus, your kingdom will become devoid of all auspiciousness. I will tell you something for your benefit." Uh, Asita Prabhu shall grant you the mic. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Asita Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
You're able to hear and see me?
Yes.
I given you the camera access also.
Okay.
Yeah. You can continue to read from Once Upon a Time.
Okay. Thank you. Once upon a time, your father, Kekaya, received a benediction from a rishi that enabled him to understand all languages, even those of the animals. However, in giving the boon, the rishi made one condition. If Kekaya ever disclosed the meaning of any speech that he heard from any animal, he would die. Later, to, the king once happened to hear the shrill cry of a bird. Because he understood its meaning, he began to laugh heartily. However, the queen, your mother, imagined that the king was laughing at her. Therefore, she demanded to know what he found to be so amusing. The king then informed his queen of the rishi's benediction, warning her that he would die if he disclosed what the bird had said. The foolish queen was so stubborn and jealous, however, that she replied, "You can live or die, I do not care. I only insist that you tell me why you are laughing." The mortified king then went to the rishi who had given him the benediction, explaining his predicament. The rishi advised that he not disclose the bird's speech and that he should rebuke the queen for her impudence. Taking the rishi's words seriously, Maharaj Kekya gathered his courage and chastised his wife severely. After that, he lived happily thereafter. In the same way, Kekai, you are acting impudently toward your husband. Admit your fault and give up your wicked plan. Kekai, however, remained unmoved. Thus, considering Rama's exile to be inevitable, Maharaj Dashrath ordered Sumantra, make ready one akshoni of soldiers and organize many merchants, hunters, and the royal treasurer so that they may accompany Rama into exile. Though he may reside in the forest, my beloved son does not have to go without the objects of comfort and enjoyment. Hearing this, Kekai was seized with fear. Bharat will not accept the kingdom if you strip it of all its resources before his installation. Growing progressively weaker, Dashrath said, "If you will not let Rama go to the forest in comfort, then I shall take all the citizens with me myself and accompany him." Kekai snapped, "In our dynasty, there is the example of how King Sagara exiled his eldest son, Asmanjasa. Therefore, you should cast off Rama in the same way." Hearing this, the elder minister Siddhartha retorted, "Asmanjasa used to take delight in drowning other children in the river Sarayu. When the citizens complained of this to King Sagara, he rejected his cruel son. How is your comparison valid? Where is the fault of Rama?" Rama interjected, "My dear father, please do not be upset. I have no use for the royal comforts you desire for me. Let Kekai's maidservants bring me tree bark at once, so that I can wear suitable clothing for my forest life." Hearing his request, the shameless Kekai personally went and brought clothes made from tree bark and asked Ram to put it on. Without hesitation, Ram and Lakshman obediently took off their royal garments and put on the clothes presented by Kekai. Sita, however, felt very unhappy when she accepted her dress made from kusha grass and tree bark, and her eyes filled with tears. When she tried to put the dress on, it kept slipping, for she was not at all accustomed to such clothing. Ram then took the dress of a tree bark and draped it over Sita's silk sari. This was unbearable to Vasishtha. With tears in his eyes, he restrained Rama and chastised Kaikeyi with strong words. You wretched woman, don't you see that everyone is prepared to follow Rama? Indeed, you will find that even Bharata and Shatrugana will follow him, leaving you alone to rule an empty kingdom. At least allow Sita to go into the forest with a comfortable dress and be carried on some conveyance. Sita, however, was determined to follow her husband's example and kept the forest clothes on. Seeing Sita dressed in this way, the palace residents began to condemn Dashrath with strong words. Hearing their talk, the king lost all interest in continuing his life. Nearly 1 hour passed as Maharaj Dashrath remained delirious, incoherently mumbling words of reproach to himself. Later, when the king became a little more composed, he ordered Sumantra to bring a chariot to carry Rama to the forest. At this time, Kaushalya embraced Sita and gave her the following womanly advice. It is well known that during times of misfortune, women will desert even righteous and loving husbands. Such wicked women forget all past favors, and nothing can bind them. Because of ingratitude, such selfish women cannot be controlled by wisdom, gifts, or even marriage. However, there are also women who are gentle, truthful, and obedient by nature. Thus, they honor their husbands above all. O Sita, please do not despise my son on account of his exile. Let him always remain your worshipable Lord in all circumstances. Sita accepted her words with folded hands and replied, I know well my duty toward my husband. Please do not speak to me about faithless women. My attachment to Rama is like that of the moonlight to the moon. There is no veena without strings, or chariot without wheels. Similarly, there is no future for a wife without a husband, even though she may possess 1,000 sons. Rama is my lord, and he shall always be so. How could I despise him? Kaushalya began weeping, thinking of the impending separation from her son. Trying to comfort her, Rama assured her that the time would pass quickly. Then he took leave of his stepmothers as they wept loudly. Rama then went and clasped the feet of his father. Circumambulating the king with Sita and Lakshmana, Ram, Rama bowed low before his mother and father. Then, without further delay, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana mounted the chariot and departed for the forest. Thus, Lord Ramchandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well wishers, residence, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita and Lakshmana. Maharaj Dashrath kept his gaze fixed upon the dust raised by the chariot as it gradually disappeared over the horizon. Finally, after losing sight of Rama's departing chariot, the king fainted and fell to the ground. When Kaushalya and Kekai ran to lift him up, Dashrath forbade the younger queen, saying, Do not touch me. I have disowned you. I no longer want to see you. Kaushalya lifted her husband, and while bringing him back, saw that all the stores and shops were closed, and a gloom pervaded the citizens. After entering his palace, the king asked to be taken to Kaushalya's apartment. From now on, the king declared in a faltering voice, I will stay here only. Maharaj Dashrath passed the night with great difficulty. He felt that losing Ram was like the dissolution of the universe. Seeing the king and Kaushalya in such a miserable state, Sumitra tried to pacify them. Please do not lament for your son, for Sita and Lakshman are with him. Rama will not experience the least difficulty Indeed, Rama is not an ordinary human being, but the god of gods himself, the illuminator of the sun and the controller of eternal time. While Rama resides in the forest, the earth herself and all natural phenomena will engage in his devotional service. Have faith that you will one day see the return of your beloved son. Your lamenting serves no purpose. Already the citizens of Ayodhya have practically stopped all activity out of grief. You must pacify the subjects and not let them fall prey to anguish. Meanwhile, some of the citizens had followed Rama's chariot to the forest, begging him to turn back. Rama told them, I cannot break my vow. I desire that you repose in Bharata, the same love you have for me. As they traveled, Rama saw how some of the elderly Brahmanas were having difficulty keeping up with his chariot. Hearing their anxious pleas, Rama felt great compassion and descended from the chariot. Then, along with Sita and Lakshmana, he proceeded on foot, allowing the Brahmanas to catch up with him. Still, Rama would not turn his face backward, for he was determined to keep his vow perfectly. Thus, as the Brahmanas constantly besieged Rama to turn back, they reached the banks of the river Tamasa. As the sun slipped over the horizon, Sumantra and Lakshmana selected a site to rest for the evening. Then, after smoothing the ground, they made a bed of leaves for Rama. When he lay down with Sita, Rama quickly fell asleep. Nearby, Lakshmana stayed awake all night, discussing the glories of his elder brother with Sumantra. Early the next morning, when Rama awoke, he saw that some citizens of Ayodhya were sleeping nearby. Just see how the citizens love us, Lakshmana, Rama said. They will not give up their determination to follow me, trying to bring me back to Ayodhya. They have completely forgotten their homes and families. They should not be burdened by Kekai's curse, as we are. Let us go before they awake. Devising a plan, he told Lakshmana, let Sumantra drive the chariot in such a way that the citizens will become confused and unable to follow us any further. After crossing after crossing the river Tamasa, Rama instructed Sumantra to drive the chariot on a clearly visible path, while taking evasive measures that would mislead the citizens, and then return. Sumantra then drove off, and when he returned some time later, Rama, Lakshman, and Sita mounted the chariot and proceeded quickly down another path into the forest. When the citizens awoke, they looked in all directions for their beloved lord. Searching desperately here and there, they found the tracks of the chariot wheels, but after some distance, the tracks suddenly stopped. Unable to determine which way to go, the people gazed into the distance and wept. With Rama gone, the people reproached themselves, saying, how can we return to Ayodhya without Rama? What will the women and children say when we fail to bring him back? What is the use of living here without the beautiful moon like face of Rama? What is the use of husband or children or even life itself? What good are household pleasures without the daughter of King Janaka and the lotus eyed Rama? With no alternative, the citizens returned to Ayodhya feeling extremely depressed. When the household women saw that the men had returned without Rama, they reproached them with cruel, harsh words. Many simply sat down and wept due to shock. Some of them were incapable of speaking or hearing. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
we can stop here. Page number 115, last paragraph. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So thank you, devotees, for joining this session. And Lord Rama willing, we will meet tomorrow. You can share this the link for joining with some of your devotee friends, relatives, or anybody who are interested to join, who are devotees chanting Hare Krishna and then following for the this will be good start for them. It will be most encouraging to read from Ramayana. Okay, so with this note, we will continue tomorrow. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Asit Prabhu. Hare Krishna. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासन्धिभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण।